All right, DT2 Comics Chat here with a live breaking news. Jennifer Garner is allegedly set to return as Elektra in Deadpool 3, which is going to drop next year, 2024. Now, let's take this from the top. Now, I need you to understand that I don't have anything against Jennifer Garner. She's a really good actress. I've enjoyed several of her movies. She made her breakthrough role was as Sydney Bristow in Aliens, and she crushed it. I don't have anything against Jen. So I just want to make that clear right off the bat. Here's the problem. Jennifer Garner is not Elektra. Jennifer Garner is not Elektra Nachios, okay? In any way, shape, or form, she is miscast in that role. How can you say something like that, DT2? I'll tell you how. Because Elektra Nachios, well, we'll take it line by line. We'll take it, component by component. Let's start with physically. Elektra Nachios looks like old school Deanna Troy. Remember when Marina first played Deanna and she had that jet black hair and those curly ringlets and all that? Because Elektra is Greek. She looks like old school Deanna Troy. So if there's going to be a good book to screen translation, Marina Sirtis in old school Deanna Troy looks more like Elektra should look like. She don't look like that. She don't look like the girl next door type. She don't have brown hair. So the only thing that got right was Elektra's eyes are green and they gave Jen green contacts. They got that part right. But other than that, that is not what Elektra looks like, number one. Number two, the problem that Elektra has as a character, Elektra Nachios has the same problem that Wonder Woman, Diana of Themyscira has. And that problem is that America can't handle the real them. What'd you say? I said America can't handle the real them. You've never seen the real Wonder Woman on screen. As a matter of fact, I probably should do a video about that. You've never met the real Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, son. Wonder Woman is a bondage character. Wonder Woman was born out of William Moulton Marston's fetish for bondage, and he lived with his wife and his mistress. So they had polygamy, they had a menage a trois, whatever going on, and he had a strong fetish for bondage. And then also he invented the lie detector. That's where the lasso of truth idea comes from. But Wonder Woman used to get, if Wonder Woman was ever bound by her lasso by a man, or sometimes just bound by a man at all, she would lose all her power. There was so much stuff going on. You have to read. Yes, that's right. There's a movie about Marston that covered all that. That's right. You got to read Wonder Woman's early appearances. You got to watch that movie about Marston's background to kind of understand how Wonder Woman was born or conceived as a character. And there's a lot of that in her early appearances, a lot of her being tied up, a whole bunch of stuff. And then there's growing up on Themyscira and there's no men around. And so there's a whole bunch of stuff about Wonder Woman that you're never going to see on the real screen because America couldn't handle that. America couldn't handle the real her. There's just too much in it that was born out of Marston's fetishes. Okay. Now, I'm just stating facts about a comic book character. I'm just stating facts about where they come from and why they were created the way they were. And that's all. What's up, Eric? And so, that being the case, Elektra Nachios has the exact same problem. Has the exact same problem. Somebody put in the chat what the name of the movie was, because I remember it too. I just don't remember the name. But they did do a movie about Marston and where he was coming from when he created Diana. So somebody look that up, or if you know the name off the top of your head, then put that in the chat and let me know. So Elektra Nachos has the exact same problem, is that we've never seen the real her, and people couldn't handle the real her. That's why that first movie was so bad. It was so bad, the characterization is off. So physically she's off, but who she is off. So what do you mean by that? I'll tell you what I mean. Elektra is kind of Batman's cautionary tale realized. The best movie about that is Batman Under the Red Hood. That movie is so good, Lord have mercy. So basically, Jason comes back from a Lazarus pit and kidnaps the Joker and puts Batman on the line and asks Batman over and over and over again. He says, I forgive you I forgive you for not saving me, but why is the Joker still alive? The reason that's so powerful is because that's what the fans have been saying. Whenever you have a character that's the voice of the fans, it's always a powerful moment. And we've been screaming for years after Jason and after Barbara and the Killing Joke, why is the Joker still alive? And Batman says, I want to kill him. Remember The Dark Knight Returns, Batman says, I've laid up, laying up, oh, there it is. Professor Marsden and the Wonder Woman. Thank you. Thank you. That's it. Professor Marsden and the Wonder Woman. That's the movie you need to watch if you want to understand Diana's true origins and the real life parallels that made it into her mythology because of her creator. Thank you for that. And so Batman says, I've lain up awake at nights, dreaming about it, picturing. And he says that again in The Dark Knight Returns about how, I've always known from the beginning, Joker, there's nothing about you that I couldn't fix with my bare hands. So Batman in Under the Red Hood tells Jason, all I want to do is kill him. Okay, I want to kill him in degrees. I want to break every bone in his body twice. But Batman says the reason I don't is not because I think he doesn't deserve it. The reason I don't do it is because once I go down that path, I won't be able to come back. Now, that's a man that's in touch with his rage, but understands what unchecked rage will do to you. Because remember, Batman got into this whole thing because he wanted revenge. He wanted revenge for the untimely, unwarranted death of his parents. And as a little boy, he felt helpless. He felt helpless as he stood there as a child of 8, watching his parents get gunned down in front of him. And he vowed in his heart, and he vowed out loud that he was going to fight evil for the rest of his life. But he knows, and Keaton is the one that best exhibits that split personality, that rage. He knows that if he fully gives into it, he's never coming back. He's going to be the Punisher. He's a judge, jury, and executioner. Okay? Well, Elektra Nachos did give into it. She's the one that did not hold back her rage and her desire for vengeance. And she completely gave herself to the hand. She completely gave herself to ninja training. She completely gave herself to learning how to be one of the most effective and efficient assassins that the world has ever seen. And Elektra was also a prostitute for a time. What happened to Elektra was that she became so good at what she did until, wait a minute, Eric, is that Keaton is Amazing Batman? Have you seen him in The Flash? I did. I have 2 reviews on that movie. I have one review that's a solo review that's on my channel now. And then I have another review coming that is a group review. So I brought in some friends. So yes, I did see him in The Flash, and he steals the movie. Now, our Paul says, no one watched the Ezra movie. I know, that's what a lot of people, that's why the movie was so controversial. A lot of people are like, I'm not giving any money to this movie because of its star. But I talk about all that in my video. So you need to go watch that video. It's right there on my channel. And you can, let me see, because I'll pull it up and I'll put the link so you can check out what I had to say about that. And then next week, I'm going to be posting the group review. And I have a group review as uh, I brought in some of my friends to give their feedback on where is it? Okay, hold up. I'm coming up, coming up, I'm coming up, coming up. To give their feedback on the film because the film works on so many different levels. And when I say works, I mean exists on so many levels. Not it's good on so many levels because that's not true. Okay. Arval says the media wanted me to have a social conscience. I have one now. Watched your video. Okay, so I'm putting my link in the chat. So the link's in the chat if you haven't seen that film. So if you haven't seen my review of the film, and I agree with Eric, the only parts worth watching is when Keaton is in it. That's right. And Sasha Kaye as Supergirl did well too. Okay, so back to Elektra. So Elektra did give in to her rage. She did give in to her vengeance. And she became so good as an assassin that her soul died. And she became dead inside because that is what is going to happen. Number one, if you have unchecked bitterness, vengeance, and rage in your heart, and you never have any level of healing, you never come to grips with it. Number one. Number two, you can only kill so many people until you kill your conscience. If you take a human life, that's going to weigh on your soul. Okay? People always talk about physical costs. There are spiritual, mental, and emotional costs. That's going to weigh in on your soul, and it's going to kill your soul eventually. Might kill your soul with your first kill. Okay? And then Elektra, going into prostitution for a time, had to kill her soul again. Know why? Because she can't bond with the people she's having sex with. If she bonds with them emotionally, then that's going to mess up her infiltration assignment, and that's going to mess up her assassination. If she cares for them and she cares about them, you can't stick a sigh through the heart of someone that you love. So Elektra, in every way, had to kill her soul to be who she was. So the first scene in the Elektra movie is trying to exemplify that she moves like the wind, she appears and disappears, she kills without thinking, blah, 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 blah. But what happens in the heart of that movie? In the heart of that movie, she has a target. She meets this guy and for no good reason just falls for him. And then for no good reason becomes super protective of the kid. So I guess they're trying to say that she saw herself in the kid because that was really a movie about the kid was a chosen one. It was just a mess of a movie. Just plot wise, it was just a mess of a movie. And all of a sudden, after years and years and years and years and years and years of training and killing, all of a sudden she grows a heart. And she grows a heart because that's the first time she's killed a kid. That's the first time she's seen a little girl that reminds her of herself or whatever. See, you can't have a blackened, hardened soul like Elektra does in the comics. Then all of a sudden you got a heart of gold. And that's the only type that America will accept. A killer with a heart of gold, a hooker with a heart of gold, not someone, just like you've never seen the real Natasha Romanoff. You have no idea how proud Natasha was to serve her country and all the things that she did in service of her country. So in Avengers, they had to write her once again as the repentant assassin, as the repentant hooker, the hooker with a heart of gold. That's the only type that America will accept. That's why they keep being written that way. That is not who Natasha Romanoff is. I need to do a video on her too. You ain't never met the real Natasha. Okay, so this is the same problem Elektra has for the exact same reason. She's this blackened soul, unfeeling, killing machine. Now, Elektra did have a moment of realization. She did have a period of introspection where she realized what she'd become. And then whatever emotions or feelings Elektra had, she began to hate herself with those emotions. She realized what Batman already knew, that I have gone too far. I've pushed myself too far. I have become a thing without a soul. I'm a prostitute. I'm an assassin. I'm a killing machine. And inside, she realized that made her nothing but dead. And whatever little emotion she did have left, she turned them inward and hated herself. That's Elektra Nachos, if you don't know her story from the comics. Okay. That's why she had to have a very solid redemption arc through her death at Bullseye's hands and Matt bringing her back and all that. So, what happens in her relationship with Matt is very similar to Luke and Vader. When she reconnects with Matt as an adult, and Matt has become Daredevil and she's become Elektra the Assassin, it's not like it is, Lord Jesus, this movie is not like it is in the movie where they have this little flirty sparring session on a playground, which neither one of them would ever do. Neither Matt Murdock nor Elektra Nachos would ever show off their skills like that in public around a bunch of kids. And that was so dumb. That was so dumb. I don't understand how that made it. And everybody's like, well, that's my favorite scene. That doesn't make it a good scene. Because a covert assassin and a blind vigilante that both have a vested interest in staying low and undercover wouldn't be doing stuff like that on a playground. I remember the first time I saw them square up and Matt has this little smirk on his face and Elektra is doing, getting to her pose. I'm like, what? No, that's not cute. No. So when she got with Matt as an adult, Matt had the effect on her that Luke had on Vader. Luke woke up whatever parts of Anakin were left in his father, Luke woke it up. Now we find out retroactively that it's probably largely because Anakin did not know he had any children. He thought that the Emperor told him that he killed Padme in his rage. So Vader must have figured, whatever child she was pregnant with died with her. And if you remember, in her funeral, they still had her pregnant belly. They put something on there to make it look like, the child had died with her. So Vader went a long time not knowing he actually had children. Then he meets Luke in Star Wars, and then he figures out who Luke is, then becomes obsessed with Luke. And then Luke ends up turning the tables on him because Vader was trying to recruit Luke to help him overthrow the Emperor. Luke ended up turning Vader's heart back to Anakin. That's the effect that Matt had on Elektra. What do I see them doing with Elektra in Deadpool 3 as a prediction? Well, because Deadpool is so goofy. I mean, Deadpool perfected his brand in terms of fourth wall breaking and being so self-aware it's painful and just being really, really goofy. But it works because Deadpool is an assassin too, and Deadpool seems to have an unlimited healing factor. So I think Elektra is going to be played a little bit as a joke, maybe for comedy relief, maybe if she just has a cameo, then she'll probably have a couple of quick lines and she'll be snarky. There'll be snarky lines because everybody has to be snarky now. And I don't necessarily see her cameo having any weight. I really don't. It's the same thing I didn't like about Colossus in the Deadpool movies. He was just, big and dumb and talk dumb. And that's not Peter. So I don't see it being anything other than a quick comic relief kind of thing, a quick kind of snark kind of thing, where Deadpool's going to make some kind of comment about, he knows how tough it is coming back from the dead, and the dry cleaning bill from your dead body, something dumb like that, because that's a total Deadpool line. Why bring her back and just bring her back for a cameo if it's going to be anything besides that? Because once again, they do not understand the character. So Matt woke up whatever was left inside of Elektra that had any type of positive emotion, any type of conscience, any type of feeling as a human being. Matt Murdock woke that up. And her heart began to turn. Not completely, but at least it was a little bit alive again. And then they went through that whole arc with Bullseye killing her. And I hate that arc. I just hate it. I just didn't believe it. Happened too easy, and she died really hard. But on the one hand, it's kind of karmic for all of the blood that she spilled, because karma, reaping what you sow. No, wait, here's a comment I really agree with by Eric. I kind of do not like how these cameos of characters get leaked so early. Would have a better impact if we did not know until we see the movie. Agree completely. That's the way it used to be. They used to understand that you don't spill everything about the movie before the movie, and now we have no surprises left. Okay? Okay, our Paul's comment of a really good angle. I like that. Deadpool and Elektra both came back from the dead. So that's what I'm saying. They're going to make some quick, kind of quippy, snappy banner kind of thing. It's going to have some type of reference of them, bonding over the fact that, been there, done that kind of thing, but it's going to be like a Starbucks. We're having coffee, laughing over our resurrection kind of joke kind of thing. But anyway, but what would be recommended reading for someone who knows very little of Elektra? You got to go back and read the original run by Frank Miller, the most classic part where Elektra is first introduced, and you got to read her arc all the way through until she dies at Bullseye's hand. And well, I won't spoil it if you haven't read it, but it's a redemption arc. And but the entire Miller run of Daredevil is required reading. You have to read that to understand this character, to understand who she is, and to understand how badly they messed her up in the book to screen translation. So go back to Miller's original run where he originally introduces Elektra and read that all the way through to his original conclusion with her. You'll see it's powerful. It's stunning. It's stunning what happens there. And it's stunning what that arc does to Matt. So when you add all that up, we've never seen the real Elektra on screen because America could not handle who she really is and the kinds of things that she's done. And it's why Batman does not fully give himself to his rage and his vengeance and his desire to kill, because if he did, he'd become what Elektra became. Understand? And then another thing that's hinted at is that, see, because it's funny how a lot of writers think that love makes you weak, because it's hinted that her heart waking up and her falling in love with Matt and them being really a couple takes her edge off and takes his edge off too. Maybe that's true, maybe, but I will always stand by my defense of the idea that love makes you strong and a good marriage makes you strong by pointing at the Flashes, Jay and Joan, Barry and Iris, Wally and Linda, and Superman and Lois. I know that, when a hero is married, it puts their loved ones in jeopardy. I get that. That's one of the favorite trope storylines of writers. And Marvel always makes it tragic, except with the Fantastic Four, when your loved one has powers. Okay. DC took that turn with Green Lantern with what's called the fridging. And I think Gail Simone coined that phrase, where basically you come home and your girlfriend has been murdered and drawn and quartered and crunched into a shape where their bones broken, where she can fit in the fridge. And also, they did the same thing with Barry Allen, which is a retcon that we're still talking about. Having Thawne go back in time and murder Nora was not originally canon. The Flashes are a happy family. I just talked about that in my interview with Mr. John Wesley Shipp, and he agreed with me. And, he understood the whole retcon idea. He understood that 90s Flash, the one he played, Barry Allen, was not the CW Flash. He said that wasn't my origin story. See, so you need to leave that type of tragedy to characters that were originally born in that type of tragedy, but it is an incorrect statement that love makes you weak. Arbal saying, prior to Marvel's destruction of Spidey, his marriage was a gold standard. That's right. Anybody that's a Spidey fan. Now, I'm a Gwen fan. Everybody knows that I love Gwen Stacy, okay, from the beginning. But they so solidified Peter's relationship with MJ until you could not refute the beauty of that relationship. You could not refute the beauty of their love. And if you followed that for any length of time, you knew how much Peter loved Mary Jane and how much she loved him back, and how she was his Lois Lane in the sense of she understood what it meant to be married to Spider-Man. She understood what it meant to have to share your husband with the world. She understood what it meant to live that kind of life, and she can handle it, just like Lois can. And then one more day. But anyway, so the point I'm trying to make about Elektra is that the kind of darkness that she walked in, because she's really, 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 really dark. The kind of darkness that she walked in would not be accepted. And it's not Jennifer. It's just not her. Now, I've got to study the Elektra character on the Daredevil Netflix series a little bit more to comment on her. I haven't spent enough time with that series to really talk about that book to screen translation. Visually, it didn't really do a lot for me, but if she had nailed the character or whatever, but I have not spent enough time with that version of Elektra to comment on it. And that version of Elektra is not coming back in Deadpool 3. Jennifer Garner's version is coming back. So that's why I'm talking about that. So I just wanted to give a shout out and a nod to the Netflix series because, it was pivotal and it was powerful, but I need to spend more time with it to comment on that version of Elektra. But this version of Elektra is not Elektra. And I've shown you all the reasons why. Now, I'm all saying here that Elektra used to be more edgy than Wolverine. That's right. Wolverine is kill if I have to, not seeking to kill, but not afraid of it. Elektra is an assassin, trained to kill. Okay? And again, you have to keep your personal feelings out of it. So finally, what I'll say about this version of Elektra coming back is, I think it is unfortunately, and we all call this, now, what amazes me is how comic fans, longtime comic fans, longtime geeks, and people that study the genre, of comic books and are comic book historians, and people that study the movies. We called this a long time ago, okay? We called this before Spider-Man No Way Home. We said once they introduce the multiverse, it's going to be no holds barred. That's not going to have any meaning. All kinds of people are going to come back. Look at what they did in Multiverse of Madness. We finally got the Reed Richards we wanted to see, and he's literally dead in seconds in a dumb way. Black Bolt is dead in seconds in a dumb way. Don't get me started on Multiverse of Madness. I was just like, so we knew that it was going to have a floodgate effect when all of a sudden, all of the characters are going to be able to come back from another dimension or come back from the dead or whatever. That's the type of writing device you want to use sparingly. For example, with Jason Todd and the Lazarus Pit. That was incredible. The Lazarus Pit is a part of Batman's mythology with Ra's al Ghul, and it works as a story. The first Robin getting killed by the Joker, and he got killed by a call-in vote, if you know what I'm talking about why Jason Todd originally died. So bringing him back crazy and angry as the Red Hood, basically being DC's Punisher, makes perfect sense. But you start bringing everybody back like that, and then it loses its effect as a storytelling device. And that's what this multiverse thing has already spun out into, to the point where we're already tired of the multiverse, which is really a shame. Now, it's still working in Across the Spider-Verse, and I have reviews for that movie. I actually had to break my review into 3 parts because there's so much to say about that movie. It works as a concept in Across the Spider-Verse because of the premise of that movie. And the premise of that movie is that you can't mess with certain events in timelines. You have to let certain things play out the way they need to play out. And when you mess with fixed points in time or fundamental events, or when things unfold like they shouldn't, it begins to destroy reality. That's a concept that's been in Star Trek for years, so we're very familiar with it. But it works in Across the Spider-Verse. Once they do it here, though, what's the point? Now, I'm one of the few people that actually liked Ben Affleck's Daredevil. Hold on, got to field the question. Would you be interested in a Jason Todd movie where Rachel Gold places Todd in the Lazarus Pit? Not really. That's not something we need to see. That's not something we need to build a whole film around, because it's an event that we know what happened. And the more important thing is what happens when Jason resurrects. So no, I don't really need to see an origin of Red Hood movie just focused on that. The animated feature under the Red Hood is perfect. It's plenty. So no, I don't really need to see that. That's just me personally. But with multiverse and time travel, I don't mind time travel and I don't mind the multiverse, but it's like a seasoning in your dish. You have to use it sparingly. Too much salt can kill a dish. Too much mustard can kill a sandwich. Okay, you got to know what you're doing when you're cooking up this stuff. And so having them come back as a cameo, and as a cameo that we are now aware of, so it's not going to have any shock value. I enjoyed Ben Affleck's Daredevil. I understand why that movie didn't do as well as it could have, and that's because it's too all over the place in terms of tone and the rules. Okay? If you're going to pick a tone, you need to have a tone. If you're going to have a darker tone, you want to sprinkle some humor in just to lighten it up, to balance it out, but you don't want to have scenes in the movie that's almost like a cartoon, almost like we're introducing like Bugs Bunny or something in the middle of the movie. And so that being the case, inserting them here doesn't really do any good. You would have to bring them all the way back and then decide on whatever tone you wanted to decide on if you're going to use that particular combination, that particular couple again. And it certainly needs to be thought out to the point where, because they had real potential with Ben Affleck's Daredevil. I think they realized it more with Charlie Cox's Daredevil, but that series is a little too light on powers for me. It's gritty and realistic and all that, but the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie shows you what his life is like. That's what I love. That shows you what his radar sense looks like and how he uses it. Shows you that he has to sleep in a sensory deprivation tank. Because when you have heightened super senses like that, see, Superman can control them. Martian Manhunter can't control them. But with Matt, they're on all the time. So he has a degree of control, but he's got to sleep in a sensory deprivation chamber to get any sleep at all. I love that. I love the use of Braille. I love the use of him creating the sound wave and watching it reverberate, using his radar like sonar, like bats do. See, I love that. I love that. But you can't then again have the playground scene. You can't then again have both of them just falling so in love until they just both get thrown off their game. And once again, what do comic book movies always do? They take a storyline in a comic that took 2 years to develop and try to do it in 2 hours. It took them a full 18 months to 2 years to develop the Dark Phoenix saga. You can't do that story in 2 hours. Okay? And so once again, that's the same thing that happened in the Daredevil movie. They tried to rush them through their arc. And we don't spend enough time with them as a couple. And, there's just so many things going on. So if they're going to bring them back, they need to bring them back in. I would even take a limited TV series, honestly. But they need to bring them back in a way that honors those versions of the character. They need to dye Jennifer Garner's hair black or make her wear a wig. And she needs to sound Greek when she talks. She needs to have some kind of accent or something that she fades in and out of, or something to indicate her true background and all that different kind of stuff. They need to have the actual, what is this, Eric is saying? You can't do Ragnarok and Planet Hulk in 2 hours. That's right. Once again, comic book movies, man, always mashing up multiple storylines and always basically draining the life out of them, because we know how they really developed. We know the weight, we know the events, and you can't do that in 2 hours, especially for a normie audience, because you can't make people care. These events won't have any meaning, just like the way they botched Batman versus Superman by trying to include the death of Superman and then having him die in a very stupid way. And then especially as they had already announced the Justice League, I'm like, we know Superman's coming. In the comics, the death of Superman had huge weight. They treated it like a real life event. They stopped printing the comics. It was all over the country. Radio stations were going along with it, like Superman was real and had actually died. I mean, it was really something. If you were alive at that time, it was really something. But in the Batman versus Superman movie, I'm like, nobody's taking this seriously, and he died in a stupid way. That's the same way I felt about the way Elektra died. Even though it was directly from the comics, even the actual pose of how she died with Bullseye sticking her side through her heart, lifting her up. That's straight from the comics, but it was dumb. See that? So if they're going to use this couple, they need a redemption arc type of medium to where Affleck's Daredevil and Garner's Elektra has the weight, the gravitas, the time to develop their relationship. Because again, I would not mind seeing Ben Affleck as Daredevil again if it's the Matt that he portrayed in the first movie, the Matt he's supposed to be. Because if you know anything about the Daredevil comic books, man, Matt went really dark too. Matt went really dark for a long time, and Matt kind of went Walter White. Oh, yes, he did. And he felt like he owned Hell's Kitchen, and he felt like he was going to do whatever he needed to do to protect it, like a mob boss, like Kingpin himself, like nobody comes in Hell's Kitchen that doesn't have to answer to me kind of thing. So Matt in the comics goes through this really dark tunnel. Okay. That would be interesting to see on screen as well. Because again, it's very much like Breaking Bad. It's very much like, because Walter White's arc in Breaking Bad was, how far am I going to go? What do I have to do to become this drug kingpin? And do I have any lines? Where do I draw the line? And he kept going further and further and further and further. And that was the beauty of that show. If Ben Affleck had a Matt Murdock arc like that, that would be something to see. That's something really meaty to play. Okay. And he was already pretty dark in his movie. Because one of my favorite lines from that movie is, you see that light at the end of the tunnel? That ain't heaven. That's the C train. I love that. I love that. Right off the bat, we knew we were dealing with a very ruthless version of Daredevil that believed very much in street justice. Okay, that Daredevil said, if I can't get you through the law, if I can't nail you through court, then I'll get you on the street. I mean, see, that's incredible. And Ben did that well. So that's what I mean. If they came back like that, and we see Ben's Matt break bad and go to more and more extremes to bring his brand of street justice, and Elektra joins him on that journey, and maybe she goes dark again with him and shows him what she's really capable of, what would pull them back from that? What if, his confrontation with Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, and all that kind of snaps Matt back into reality? Or what if Elektra dies again? Or what if Matt loses someone really close to him? Or what if Matt loses everything? I mean, there's so many places you can go to kind of take Matt through that arc and bring him back. At the end of Breaking Bad, Walter White has to die. But since we know Matt is not going to die and stay dead, he'd have to come back from that if he could. But that's an interesting moral dilemma to put the character in. So that's what I'm saying. If we're going to use these two as an incarnation of a Daredevil and Elektra, they need to have an arc like that. They need to have an arc just like that, and we'd love it. We'd watch it if that's written well, even if they brought Frank Miller in. If that's written well, we would Right, this right here. That would make a great movie. Daredevil and Elektra stepping up to the edge of almost being villains themselves. That's what I'm talking about. That's right. That's right. How could that not be gold? That's what these two need. Not some kind of cameo in a Deadpool 3 movie where it's going to be a wink and a lark and a snark and then we don't see him anymore. I just, no. No, that's just not the thing to do. Okay. So I want to see Ben Affleck's Daredevil go through the natural arc of that kind of darkness. I want to see the real Elektra. Okay. And I want to see them struggle with their inner conflict because that's what makes characters interesting. That's what makes characters compelling. Elektra is not the girl next door. If you don't remember nothing else I say, remember that. She's not the girl next door. She's your worst nightmare. Okay? Elektra is your worst nightmare. Someone that can fade in and out of reality, someone that has such strong ninja technique until she moves like the wind and can kill you so fast with that sigh until, she's on you before you even know and you're dead before you have a chance to finish the sentence. Okay? So I think the key to Elektra is Garner's too pretty. I don't think that because Elektra's beautiful. Okay. Like I said, she looked like old school Troy. She looked like Deanna Troy in the early seasons of The Next Generation. Elektra looks like that. Very Greek, not like the picture you see behind it. Okay. So in conclusion, hopefully this appearance will be good. Hopefully it will be something that we like. Hopefully it will be something that goes over well. All that's hopefully. Hopefully. I don't know. I'm not feeling too optimistic about it. And once again, nostalgia bait and member berries. They don't seem to understand. Don't you know if you eat too much of anything, even too much of your favorite food, you'll get sick of it? Don't they understand that? That even whatever food it is that you love without limitation, if you have it every day, and if you have too much of it, you're going to get sick of it. I don't care how much you love it. Well, if every superhero content in live action becomes infiltrated with nostalgia bait and member berries, if that's all it's about, and that's all we see, because there's an overdose of it in the Flash movie. If that's all that we see, then we're going to get sick of, we're actually already sick of it. Already sick of it. And we knew this is what was going to happen. We knew this was coming to where once this can of worms was opened, now every movie is going to have all this nostalgia bait and all that. And one of these days, they're going to realize that it's not nostalgia bait and member berries that we want. What we want is good stories with these characters that we fell in love with. And by good stories, we mean proper characterizations with both internal and external conflicts that we watch them solve in a very compelling and believable way. That's what we want. Not, oh, look, so-and-so is back, and oh, look, it's on the screen again, and oh, look, remember that? No, that's not going to do for the movie what they think it's going to do. That's not what fans want. That's not what fans respond to. Okay. And they should have figured that out by now. All right. That's it for this live breaking news. Thanks to so much to all of you that joined me live. And thanks to everybody that is watching this video on the replay. Remember to like this video, share it as many places as you can, and subscribe to my channel and ring the bell, boom, so that you know when I come on and I make new video drops. Okay. I dropped so many videos this week, so many vids this week until I'm dizzy from all the videos I dropped this week. And I got a lot more coming next week. Okay. So hang with me. Thanks a lot. Y'all have a good night. And I'll see you in the next live breaking news.